Let me tell you, some folks say you can't choose your battles. I say sometimes your battles show up with a goddamn marching band on your front porch, and all you wanted was a quiet afternoon. You ever had a week like that? Because let me tell you about the day. A mob of HOA campers tried to turn my private lake into their personal music festival, and nearly rewrote history just to steal it out from under me. Sounds insane, right? Wait till you hear how far it went. It started like this. I was up on the ridge, swapping out a trail sign some punk had used for target practice. Not even halfway through, my satellite phone buzzes. Yeah, I still carry one out here. Cell service is a rumor, not a guarantee. The number was local, so I answered. This shaky voice says, Mr. Bishop, you own the land out by Diamondback Lake. Right now. I get the odd call, sure, but this wasn't the usual lost hiker or rental guest. This was Lacey. She and her husband were in one of my cabins. Nice folks always left the place cleaner than they found it. There's a situation, she said. A bunch of people just rolled up. Tents, RVS coolers, called it an HOA annual campout. Music blaring bonfires. Nobody asked us a thing. Figured you'd want to know. I didn't even say goodbye. I was already jogging to my truck boots full of gravel, mind full of words I can't repeat in polite company. I tore down those dirt roads my old F 150. Sounded like it might come apart, but I made it in less than 15 minutes. I knew something was off because you could hear the music before you saw the lake. Not the gentle kind. This was the full cousin's wedding after midnight experience. As soon as I hit the rise, I saw the whole scene, tents everywhere, smoke drifting through the trees, kids stomping through the moss I'd spent years replanting. A couple of teens tossing sparklers like it was the 4th of July. And right there, center stage, like she'd paid extra for it, was Karen Stiller. Picture a woman who wears pearls to a protest, drinks wine from a stemless glass, and calls herself the president of the HOA. She had her chair staked out like the damn queen of the forest. We'd clashed before she tried to turn the lake into some community wellness hub at a meeting a couple years back. I told her then, and I'll tell you now, my land is not your yoga studio. I walked right up, didn't even bother with pleasantries. You're trespassing, I said. She just laughed, waved her hand like she was shooing a fly. Oh, Randall, this is all communal now. Colorado Public Access Framework. You should really look it up. She actually said that. Like I hadn't read every law that's ever been used to try and steal a man's land. Lady, my grandfather built this lake with his own hands. Got the paperwork to prove it. This isn't public, it's private. Always has been. She just kept smiling, said her HOA had approved the camp out, the budget, the itinerary, the whole thing. I pointed to the posted sign, no fires, no overnight camping, no music. All by permit. She just shrugged. So I started recording. Sometimes when people won't listen to reason, you got to give them the cold, hard truth on video. I called the sheriff. You ever notice how fast the cops show up when the problem's got money? 2 deputies took them maybe 20 minutes. I filmed everything: kids trampling moss grown men, shotgunning beers, Karen arguing with her own campers. The officers checked my deed, my map. One even complimented how organized my paperwork was. They handed out tickets like Halloween candy. HOA got fined for trespassing. Karen herself got dinged for the bonfire, and everyone was ordered to clear out. RVs scrambled, kids wailed. Someone lost a $300 cooler in the lake. Karen gave me a look that could have wilted steel and hissed, "You'll regret this." I stood there breathing in the silence after they left, thinking maybe, just maybe, that was the end of it. Fool's hope. 2 weeks of peace, and then it started. First, my rental bookings dipped, word gets around, I guess. Then a fat envelope shows up, slipped under my gate. Whispering Pines, HOA, legal counsel. Inside a lawsuit, $100,000 in damages. permanent community access accusations of emotional distress, and my favorite suppression of heritage events. I nearly tore the thing in half. Now, I'm not new to fights like this. I used to work Forest Service, seen everything from wildfires to squatters, but this felt like something else. Not just money, not even just land. It was about who gets to decide what's true, about who gets to write the story of a place. So I called my lawyer, Hank Caswell Mountain Man, 4 generations deep, built like he could wrestle a moose. He looked at the complaint, just grunted. This is theater. They'll fold once we show the real papers. Except there was a catch a map. The HOA had included a shiny high-res map, freshly drawn, marking half my property as community easement. Fake as a $3 bill, but it looked official. Burden of proofs on them, but in court, optics matter. So Hank and I set up camp in my barn, pulled every deed, every letter, every photo from my family's archives. My grandfather breaking ground in 31 county permits, water board approvals. We were ready. Or so I thought. That's when the propaganda started. Glossy newsletters showed up in every mailbox for miles. A legacy interrupted our community's fight for access. Fake testimonials photoshopped timelines. Even a new map shaded just so, like they'd always been here. I read it 3 times, felt the anger boil up. Hank said, let them dig their own hole. But it didn't stop. HOA members. Walking the perimeter with cameras, strangers pushing clipboard surveys about eco-cooperative plans, late night calls with no voice on the other end. Marshmallows left on my mailbox with a note. Can't wait for next year's campout. Cute, huh? I installed cameras, infrared motion sensors, the works. I wasn't about to get run out of my own woods. Still, they were relentless. I started losing sleep, something I hadn't done since wildfire season, back in 2009. There was a chill in the air, felt like a storm rolling in even when the sky was clear. Then the twist. Hank pulls up a website one morning, whispering pinescamping.org. Big bold letters. Join us for our 7th annual campout at Diamondback Lake. Photos of my lake, my cabins blurred out but unmistakable. Fake quotes, fake permits, a downloadable, HOA, traditions, PDF. Since 2017, Whispering Pines residents have come together at our beloved lake. I just about broke my coffee mug. They were rewriting the past in real time. I called my buddy Trevor, used to work InfoSec, knows how to find things that don't want to be found. In a few hours, he had the whole server log. The site was built from a template registered with Karen's email. Sloppy, but they counted on nobody looking. Hank printed out every screenshot, every log. We were ready for court and for the public. And just when I thought the circus had peaked, I caught a group sneaking around the north boundary at night. Flashlight off, carrying a map and a drone. Next day, a sign appears. Future site of Whispering Pines Environmental Pavilion. No permit. No warning. Just some wild fantasy staked in my soil. That's when I realized they didn't just want the lake. They wanted the story. They wanted to say, we've always been here. This was always ours. Because if you repeat a lie enough, sometimes people believe it. But here's the thing about stories. Sometimes the truth finds its own voice. For me, that was Grayson Miller. Quiet old guy, one of the original HOA board members. I met him for breakfast. He looked like he hadn't slept in months. Slid a folder across the table. Transcripts, emails, budget logs. Karen had been funding the lawsuit with reserve money. Pushing decisions through without votes, even telling her lawyer. Don't worry, he'll lose the narrative before court. Grayson became my eyes and ears. He'd leave manila envelopes behind the third planter at the post office, old spy movie style. Meeting minutes proof of PR firms' invoices for land use consultants linked to Karen's cousin. It would have been funny if it wasn't so dirty. They hired a PR firm to shape the story, made me the villain, the greedy land baron. I almost admired the hustle. But I had something they didn't to patience. Instead of fighting fire with fire, I went stone cold. Put up new signs, private property trespassers prosecuted, steel framed display case with the original 1931 dam permit, my family's name, the county stamp, rotating quotes from the law, false easement claims, criminal charges, you name it. People started getting the message. The clipboard brigade vanished. Families stopped wandering near the water. Karen tried one last time, posted her own sign, "Don't let fear win." Nature belongs to us all, with a QR code linking to their fake site. So I laminated the server logs, showing it was her email, and nailed them next to the dock. 2 days later, her QR code vanished. But she wasn't done. One night, I saw her on camera walking the trail alone. Stopped at the display case, stared at my family's permit for a long time, then walked away. That was the first crack. The next week, I got a county letter about a feasibility study for public benefit zones. That's code for, "We're thinking about taking your land." Hank lost it. They're going for eminent domain. You need to hit back now. So I did, but not with lawyers. I called Phil, a retired journalist who ran a watchdog blog. I showed him everything: the lawsuit, the doctored maps, the website, the fake pavilion, the budget spreadsheets. Grayson had slipped me. He published it all. Headline: The lake that wasn't theirs. How a Colorado HOA tried to fake a public easement. The story blew up local news, state news, even a national blog picked it up. Within days, Karen's world started unraveling. HOA board members resigned. Residents demanded a financial audit. Someone leaked the HOA group chat. "Karen, if we don't establish precedent, now future boards won't have leverage. Let him sue. We'll outlast him." Turns out people do care when you try to rob a man with a pen instead of a gun. The county backed off. The feasibility study was paused indefinitely. Bureaucrats speak for Run for the Hills. Karen. She called a special meeting, screamed about being under attack. Even her own board called her out. "We never had a campout before this year. You made it up." She stormed out. That night, she taped a letter to my gate. "See you in court, Bishop. Or maybe in hell first." Cute. But the best was yet to come. Hank filed our counterclaim: fraud, defamation, falsification of records, malicious prosecution, you name it. We had everything: server logs, doctored maps, whistleblower testimony, Phil's audio recordings, the clincher. The official easement map they'd used in court, turns out the signature was from a county clerk who'd died 2 years before it was dated. Even the font was wrong. Karen had edited the PDF herself. The judge scheduled a hearing. We rolled in with binders, blueprints, original permits. Hank looked like a preacher ready to save or damn. Karen showed up alone, pale, with nothing but a stack of folders. She tried to argue historical use, misquoted the law, but Hank shredded her case. The judge didn't even need a day dismissed. Their suit upheld ours, awarded damages, and hit her with an injunction she can't come within 800 feet of my lake. Then referred her to the DA for criminal prosecution. The room was so quiet, I could hear a reporter's pen scraping paper. After a couple of HOA members apologized, said they'd had no idea what was really going on. I told them they'd better check their own pockets next time. Outside, Grayson handed me a brass plaque: Diamondback Lake Bishop family land since 1931, still standing. I didn't celebrate. This wasn't a champagne win. This was peace. Hard-earned, but real. A year later, the lake is quieter than ever. Karen's gone. The DA charged her with fraud and forgery. She avoided jail, but lost everything. Her house went at auction. Grayson chairs a reform committee. The HOA's basically a shell. Sometimes I look at the old fake Campout website, kept a printout just to remind myself how crazy it got. I still do what I always did, walk the property, fix fences, watch the sun, catch the water. But something's different. I used to think I was just keeping this place safe for the next fire, the next flood. Now I know I'm defending something deeper, a truth. That not everything belongs to everyone. Some things are worth protecting, even when it's thankless. On the anniversary of the trial, I had a few friends over: Hank Grayson, Lacey, and her husband, even Phil. We grilled under the old cedar. No music, just the sounds of the lake, a little whiskey, and the feeling that for once nobody was trying to take what wasn't theirs. Before they left, Hank looked at the court ruling. "I'd frame by the dock. Best closing argument I ever saw," he said. I laughed, told him maybe I'd put it on a t-shirt. He said you'd sell out in Whispering Pines. That night, walking the shoreline, the stars overhead, the lake like glass, I finally let myself breathe. Not because I'd won, anyone can win for a while. Because I'd endured. And out here, that's all you can ask for. So let me ask you, when does defending what's yours become something more? When does standing your ground stop being stubborn and start being right? If you've ever had to draw a line in the sand, tell me, what would you have done? Where's the line between community and theft, between belonging and just plain taking? I'd love to hear your stories, your own battles with power, with rules, with folks who think a committee vote gives them the right to rewrite the world. Drop a comment, share your take, because trust me, you never know when your quiet little world might need defending too.